in today's difficult economy, a lot of people are looking for ways, hacks or tricks or whatever to save money. And one way is to fix your own car.
Yeah,
So,
we've been doing that.
yep, we
And it's fixed.
fixed this one.
All right. So we have a story though to tell you
Yes.
because it wasn't that easy. But yeah, anyway, so why we're saving money and well, a story of how we tried to do it on our own
Yep.
and what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'd be driving along and we'd hit a little bump and we'd hear a funny sound.
Yeah, on a
Unusual.
bump you hear a noise.
Yeah.
And we think, And I said, you know what? We have a trip coming up in about maybe 6 weeks to another state, so it's a long trip. And how are we going to go on a trip? I don't want to go on a trip if I can't trust the car. I don't want to get stalled halfway between here and California, and another state or two away. So let's make sure that it's in good working condition. We have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
And that way he could work on it, you know, maybe take some time when he's not working on a weekend and check it out and work on it, and we could get it fixed. So the noise happened. Here's the clue. When you think of a noise, you think about when is it happening, and you get input as to what it might be. So noise happening on a bump.
Yeah.
When might that be?
So I thought, from past experience, I thought it's likely the shocks, the McPherson struts, shocks, same thing on our vehicle, and and those are relatively easy to replace. I've replaced them on both the front and the back of I don't think I've done it to that one, but we've had
Other cars
yeah we
that are similar.
We've had a Plymouth Voyager, a Dodge Caravan, and a Chrysler Town & Country, and maybe two of one of those. I'm not sure. We've had several vans anyway. So
We had a minivan theme going.
yeah, and they're all 99% the same. There's just a few cosmetic differences. So
Yeah.
so I've kind of gotten used to replacing things, and so I've replaced shocks, and it's not easy, not hard, and thought that would be an easy first step.
So what we do is we order the part, because when you have your car repaired, the part is so much a small part of the whole cost of getting it fixed, right? Like, this is not the example, but in previous examples, it could be that the car part costs $20 and the labor costs $120.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the car part costs $60 and the labor costs $300.
Yeah.
So you never know, but you save so much. If you order your own part and you watch YouTube videos,
Yeah.
you learn how to do it and get the tools that are needed
Yeah.
and repair it.
Yeah.
So you
So
order
my-
the shocks.
Yeah, so my dad was a mechanic when I was growing up, and I didn't learn much from him, so I didn't really have an advantage over anybody else in that way. But what I did, I think, learn from him was that I learned not to be afraid of trying to fix my own car.
Yeah, that's a
And-
big point.
Yeah, and now with YouTube, it's really a big help, because almost any kind of repair on a car, you can look on YouTube and find someone that many people who will tell you how to do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, and ordering things online is generally good. It's usually about half the price of the local auto parts store.
Yeah.
And so we ordered some shocks and got them and replaced them.
Took a whole, well, I don't know, not the whole day, but it took a good chunk of a day.
Yeah, a couple, 3 hours on a
And
Sunday.
but all right, good, it's finished. It's accomplished.
Yeah.
And
Took it out for a test drive, and maybe a little bit of a change, but it was still making a funny
new
sound.
shocks were nice. You know,
Yeah.
the ride was good, but we hit a bump, and was it a sound I heard?
Yeah.
We hit another bump, and something seemed to be maybe a tiny bit better, but it was not fixed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we have a mechanic friend, and we talked with him, and he gave us some ideas. Also, I work with a guy who's a pretty good mechanic, and
Didn't they say shocks?
I think
But
they
since
might
we
have.
replaced the shocks, what was next?
Yeah, I don't. So next was the when I changed the shocks, I discovered that the one of the sway bar links was dangling. Cars have anti-sway bars on them that keep them from rolling when you turn, and it's basically a shaft, and uh, it has each end of the shaft has kind of an arm on it that connects to a rod that goes up and connects to the axle. And anyway,
Yeah, it connects to that, connects to that,
yeah,
connects to that. But anyway, it was
yeah.
an important part.
So one of the sway bar links was just dangling,
Oh no.
and so I realized that I thought maybe that was what was causing the problem, because I mean that's pretty obvious when you have something like that just dangling.
Yeah.
And so all I needed was a nut to connect it and get it back together. But this was the strangest thing I've encountered. I couldn't buy the right nut anywhere in this valley where we live. And the next way I could get one was to drive to another city, which was about 45 minutes drive. And it was so I looked on Amazon or eBay, and I could get both sway bar links for $20, and that was going to be cheaper than driving somewhere to get a nut. So we got the links, and I replaced them.
Yay.
Yeah,
Now we're ready for our trip.
yeah,
So we tested it.
yep. Same noise,
Oh,
No.
not again.
no change. So
So another week had gone by because we
Yeah.
took that week to replace the sway bars.
yeah. Meanwhile, I was starting to wonder if it might be the CV joints or the wheel bearings.
Yeah.
And the CV joints they're what makes the axle flexible. They're kind of like U joints, except they're built just a little differently. CV, I think, stands for constant velocity. And anyway, uh, I checked those real carefully. I got on YouTube to find out, make sure I was checking them the proper way, and there was very little play in the CV joints or the wheel bearings, and they were in good shape as far as I could tell. They weren't making any noise.
So we didn't replace them,
Yeah.
but they were good.
Yep.
All right.
So I kept talking with my mechanic friends, and
Advice, good advice.
yeah,
We were getting advice.
and one of them said maybe the tie rods for it, what connects the steering wheel to the wheels
Okay.
is one of the parts.
All right.
So I
ordered tie rods.
ordered tie rods, replaced them, and still no change. Still making the same sound.
This was beginning up to be like a long haul here.
Yeah. So I hadn't done a lot of work on the front end of cars, but I was learning what the different parts are, and by this point I'd worked through 2/3 of the parts, the possible noise-making parts in the front of a car. And so the next thing, one of my coworkers was saying was possibly the control arms, which are part of the suspension. Basically the arms that allow the wheel to go up and down. And there's three parts to the control arm. There's the shocks connect to one part, and then to the other two part, the lower control arms connect to the other two parts. Anyway, I finally bought control arms, and that was a big project.
Oh.
I I got about halfway through that, and I was having a hard time getting it back together, and I was so tired,
Ooh.
and it was getting to be late in the day, and I was texting photos to my mechanic friend saying, it just doesn't look like it's going to go back together. I can't figure out how to put it back together. And then finally I discovered I had a plastic protective part over it that was, I had to take that off. And
Oh, a manufactured plastic piece
yeah.
for shipping.
Yeah, right.
Take off the shipping piece of plastic.
Right. So once
Oh,
I took
dear.
that off, I could get it back together, and
Did he suggest that, or you discovered that?
I just discovered it
That's funny.
finally. Oh my! And so, but yeah, at that point, I thought I was in way over my head. I thought, man, I should have taken this to a mechanic and
Yeah.
had him do this work. But all this work that, I mean, by the time it was all done, we saved them well over $1,000.
Oh man, it
Probably
was-
close to 2,000.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
We had a lot of parts that were now in good condition that would have needed to be replaced soon anyway.
yeah. So
But we had a trip to California coming up.
yeah. So at this point,
Quicker now because each part we placed was each weekend.
yeah, right.
We had like 5-6 weekends and
Yeah,
we're up against it now.
yeah. So I'd replaced the control arms, the tie rods, the sway bar links, the shocks, and let's see. I wasn't sure what
The
else.
shocks were first.
I thought possibly the engine mounts, because that was about all that was left at this point. And but I decided to take it to a local mechanic shop and have them just pay them $100 or so to do a estimate or a diagnosis for me, and to try to figure out what was wrong. So they were good people. They checked it out thoroughly. They have a little kind of a driveway behind their shop that is pretty bumpy and makes a really good place to test this kind of a thing. And so they checked it out, and they said, well, we know that you just changed your shocks. We know that these are new shocks, but they said, we're suspecting the shocks. They said once in a while new shocks have problems, and these ones may be defective. And I said, well, what about the engine mounts? And they said, yeah, possibly change the engine mounts first, and then if that's not it, it's probably the shocks. So I changed the engine mounts, and that wasn't it. And the only thing left was shocks, so I thought, well, I'm gonna.
And that's what we had done first.
Yeah.
We meaning him.
Yeah. So
So what'd you do?
so I decided let's go to the auto parts store and get shocks, even though they're twice as expensive.
As the online one.
Yeah. If there's a problem with them, well, we can bring them right back and exchange them,
Yeah.
or get a refund or whatever.
Yeah, online you'd have to mail them back.
Yeah. So
We got the shocks.
got the shocks, replaced them. Wasn't too much work. And tried it out, and amazing. The problem was gone.
The problem was gone. The problem was gone. No more. So that was amazing because we had been through each week, a new part, a new effort, new purchase of a new item, and new hours spent. And then
Yeah.
each time we would test drive, that sound is still there.
Yeah.
How can we go on a trip when our car is not up to par?
Yeah.
Finally. So the end of the story is all of those part replacements were done well by using YouTube and learning how to do each one and working carefully, taking care of it. The only problem had been the part that we first bought was defective.
Yep. Right off the bat.
But if the mechanic had put in a defective part, they might have had the same issue
Yeah.
and gone from part to part to part. We might have had the same problem, but we might have been paying 10 times more to have it fixed.
Yeah.
So in the end, it did save us money, and we had a car with some good parts replaced. They would have been needed anyway,
Yeah.
sooner or later,
Yeah, I'm really glad now that every possible part on the front
Yeah.
of the car on the suspension has been replaced. And
So now it's been like a year,
yeah,
and it's still doing well.
still working
All
well.
the parts are now nice.
Yep.
Anyway, but YouTube helped a ton,
Yes.
and many times over it
Yes.
helped a ton. So that
Yes.
was one way we've been saving money.
Yep.
So trying to keep up with the inflation here, and one income, it's not easy,
Yep.
but one day at a time.
Yep.
So
Okay.
use YouTube.
Yep.